Welcome back to the Explainer. So today we're tackling a really fascinating clinical mystery. Have you ever wondered why brain damage from a stroke leaves a patient with stiff, rigid muscles, but damage to a spinal nerve makes those same muscles go completely floppy? I mean, both situations cause paralysis, right? But they present in totally opposite ways. Today, we're going to untangle exactly why that happens. Here's our game plan. We'll start by mapping the motor neuron pathway from the top down and set the anatomical limits for these neurons. Then we jump into a clinical face-off, muscle bulk, tone, and reflexes. And finally, we'll see how doctors actually use these clues to nail down a diagnosis. Let's get right into it. Section 1, the motor neuron pathway, a top-down journey. To really grasp the symptoms of nerve damage, we've got to trace the command signal right from its source. Every conscious movement you make travels down a continuous pathway. It all kicks off way up in the cerebral cortex of the brain. That's your upper motor neuron. That signal zips all the way down the spinal cord until it hits a crucial junction. There, it hands the baton to the lower motor neuron, which carries that final definitive command directly out to the muscle fibers. Section 2. UMN versus LMN anatomical limits. Where do they break? We really need to define exactly where the upper motor neuron ends and the lower motor neuron begins, because honestly, where the break happens changes literally everything about a patient's symptoms. Upper motor neurons, or UMNs, live totally inside the central nervous system. So a UMN lesion means damage happened anywhere from the motor cortex down through the midbrain and medulla, or along the spinal cord right up until that synapse. Lower motor neurons, on the other hand, are the final bridge from the spinal cord to the muscle end plate itself. If you cut that specific bridge, you've got an LMN lesion. Moving on to Section 3, muscle bulk and tone. The face-off begins. Let's look at how a lesion in each of these distinct areas physically impacts the muscle. First up is muscle bulk, or atrophy. The most crucial thing here is the physiological why. UMN lesions cause what we call disuse atrophy. It's kind of like flipping off a light switch. You lose voluntary control, so you simply stop using the muscle. But hey, it's still plugged into the power source. LMN lesions, though, they cause denervation atrophy. In this case, you've literally severed the power cord itself. And because of that severed connection and the total loss of acetylcholine reaching those muscle fibers, LMN denervation leads to a truly devastating 70 to 80% loss in muscle mass. I mean, wow. Compare that to just a 15 to 20% loss from mere disuse in UMN lesions, and you start to realize just how catastrophic cutting that final nerve bridge really is. Okay, now let's talk about muscle tone. I want you to lock in a super simple mnemonic for today: up versus down. Upper motor neuron lesions cause tone to go up. We call this hypertonia or spastic paralysis. Why does that happen? Well, the brain normally sends signals to inhibit or essentially calm down the spinal cord. If you cut that upper wire, the spinal cord throws a party and goes into hyperactive overdrive. On the flip side, lower motor neuron lesions cause tone to go low. You've completely unplugged the muscle, leaving it totally flaccid and hypotonic. In a clinical setting, this hypertonia often shows up as the clasp knife reaction. It's pretty wild. When a doctor tries to extend the arm of a patient with a UMN lesion, they hit this solid wall of intense spastic resistance. But if they keep applying steady pressure, boom, suddenly that resistance just gives way and the arm snaps open, literally just like the blade of a pocket knife snapping into place. All right, Section 4, reflexes. Hyper versus hypo. That up versus down mnemonic applies perfectly to deep tendon reflexes too. Think about it. Without the upper motor neuron sending those nice, calming, inhibitory signals down from the brain, the gamma motor neurons in the spinal cord just go wild. They become completely hyperactive. This means UMN lesions result in exaggerated, hyperactive reflexes and something called clonus, which is this rapid, rhythmic, involuntary muscle contraction. But remember our golden rule for LMN lesions? The wire is cut. No signal whatsoever means hyporeflexia or just completely absent reflexes. But here's the catch. An unplugged muscle doesn't actually just sit perfectly still. It gets desperate. If you observe fasciculations, those visible, pathological, involuntary little muscle twitches right beneath the skin, you are literally looking at a distressed muscle crying out because of lower motor neuron denervation. And importantly, you will absolutely not see this in an upper motor neuron lesion. Section 5. Diagnosing the differences. So, we've got all these fascinating differences in tone, bulk, and reflexes, but how do doctors actually use these physiological breadcrumbs to pinpoint the exact location of the damage in a real living patient? Well, there is one specific bedside test that neurologists rely on above all others to quickly spot UMN damage, like from a stroke or a spinal cord injury. Any guesses on what that might be? It's the Babinski reflex. A doctor takes a firm object and strokes the plantar surface, or the bottom of the foot. Now, normally this causes plantar flexion, meaning your toe is naturally curled downwards. But because of that loss of brain inhibition we talked about, a UMN lesion causes a positive Babinski sign. The big toe abnormally points up towards the ceiling, and the rest of the toes fan out. It's a huge red flag. Alongside that positive Babinski, doctors are hunting for a cluster of really specific signs to confirm a UMN diagnosis. They'll check for pronator drift. That's where an outstretched palms-up arm unconsciously drifts downward and pronates inward. They might also look for a positive Huffman's sign by flicking the patient's middle finger to see if the thumb and index finger twitch together. Every single one of these signs points exclusively to upper motor neuron damage. All right, let's quickly recap our clinical face-off. UMN lesions basically mean up, hypertonia, hyperreflexia, and positive signs like Babinski. LMN lesions mean low. We're talking massive denervation atrophy, hypotonia, absent reflexes, and those fasciculating twitches. Honestly, once you see it all laid out like this, it's a beautifully logical system for diagnostics. But before we wrap up this explainer, I want you to consider a pretty heavy question. Could a patient possibly present with both UMN and LMN lesions at the exact same time? Tragically, the answer is yes. Devastating conditions like ALS, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, actually destroy both the upper and lower pathways simultaneously. It creates this really complex, terrifying mix of both spasticity and flaccidity that honestly continues to challenge neurologists even today. How might a doctor even begin to untangle a diagnosis when the up and down rules are broken at the exact same time? Just something to think about. Thanks for joining me, and as always, keep asking.